Hi, I'm Dawn Montefusco, life coach for writers and creatives, and this is the Ultimate Writer Series. How to break through resistance, ignite your muse, and honor your soul's calling. And today we have an amazing woman with us. Her name is Debra Engle. She's worked in publishing for more than 30 years as a writer, editor, and mentor. She teaches classes and workshops in spirituality and writing. In addition, she mentors writers one-on-one and does international retreats, helping them develop books that matter. She's the best-selling author of The Only Little Prayer You Need, the shortest route to a life of joy, abundance, and peace of mind, featuring a foreword by the Dalai Lama. Her book, Let Your Spirit Guide Speak, winner of Nada's Book Award, includes practical ways for readers to build a relationship with their spiritual guidance. Debra's latest book, Be the Light That You Are, inspires readers to put their spiritual practice in action and provides concrete ways to do so. And her debut novel, called 20, dealing with themes of loss at midlife, will be released in February 2020. You can visit her at debraengle.com, and all the information is on this page, and it is with great pleasure that I say hi to Debra. Debra, you really
Hi, thanks so much.
So much to this world, and it's such an honor. Could you tell us about any projects you're working on? I know I mentioned that a little bit here, or what's going on. Tell us what you're doing.
Sure. Well, lots to be excited about. I did just have a book that came out recently, the one that you mentioned, Be the Light That You Are. And it is the third in a series of spirituality books, self-help books. I didn't know I was writing a trilogy until this third book came along. And then I realized that you put the three books together and they do create really kind of a step-by-step program of spiritual growth. So I'm really excited about that. I've been getting a lot of great feedback. And I'm guessing that maybe we may talk a little bit about something from those other books, because I think it all relates to writing.
Definitely.
Even though it's about spiritual, personal growth, to me, I always talk to my mentees, my coaching clients, other writers, about the fact that I just think writing and life and spiritual growth, personal growth, they all go hand in hand because they all support one another. So very excited about that book. And then the novel that you mentioned, it's called 20, coming out in 2020, which is pretty perfect. Yeah. And it's it's a book that I think will touch people's hearts very, very deeply, because it's about the main character is someone who I relate to in big ways, and I think a lot of other people will too. So those are the two main things on my radar right now.
Oh, that's fabulous. I love that you mentioned immediately how, writing can be like a metaphor for life. I say in my group, I have a group called Create Your Dream Book, and it's women, and it's not about, what you should do or what's marketable. It's what's the dream about writing. But in the midst, I say, writing a book or writing in general can be an interesting metaphor for how we live our lives, specifically with meditation. And it is sort of a meditation. Can you tell us just a little? I love the way that you said that they're combined, that spirituality and life and writing. In your opinion, just your experience, how does that all relate?
Well, for me personally, and I believe this is true for a lot of other people as well, I think the more we can tap into that inner voice within us, the more we can be supported as we live our lives every day and as we write as well. For creative people, especially for writers, often we talk about that creative muse, that sort of disembodied voice, that we can tap into, that supports us and maybe feeds us ideas or helps us feel energized and inspired about what we're writing. But I also really believe that we all have that inner voice. We can call it a lot of different things. It could be intuition, it could be a spiritual guide, it could be the muse. To me, they're really all the same thing. It's just that knowing from inside of us and tapping into something beyond just what we can see and touch every day that gives us ideas, that feeds our creative spirit. And that makes us pay attention to things that we could pass by, because we really do we have the potential for tapping into hundreds, if not thousands, of ideas probably every day, because anything around us, every interaction, every relationship, every thought potentially is a seed of something that we could write about.
Mm.
So how do we, start to make choices, pay attention to what lights us up, what gets us excited about writing, and
Yeah.
what can we kind of leave behind? And how do we learn from it all? I feel like, one of my favorite things about writing is that when I'm actively working on a book or a writing project of any kind, I feel like I'm paying closer attention. It
Mm.
is as though life becomes more of a meditation. I
Mm.
become more mindful because I know that everything I experience could make its way into my writing somehow, and I don't want to miss it. It's kind of like with a novel that I've got coming out. I actually went to a funeral of all places as I was writing this book, and a song that was sung during that service reminded me of a song that I wasn't there in the book as part of a funeral service by any means, but was there to serve a very different purpose. I would
Wow.
not have thought of that song if it hadn't been for that celebration of life ceremony that I went to. So you just never know where something's going to show up that you can use in your writing.
Yes. What a great example and beautiful story. All right. So I have this great question that I think that you could possibly answer. I look up to your work so much. Is so, the ego mind, right? The loud, messy
Mhm.
voice, and I talk a lot about meditation, and meditation has saved my life in many ways. And also that, it's not like you have to meditate once a week for an hour is not as good as, every day for 10 minutes. But I try to explain to people that it's that inner voice that if we just slow down and listen to, really guides us and helps it feels better. What are some of the tricks that you use for that loud voice that takes over, that says, you're not doing enough, you should be doing this, don't write, that's a waste of your time, or you get all those mixed loud thoughts, they're not, that's not your spirit. What's your trick or advice to tap into that inner voice a little bit easier?
Yeah, it's a great question. And part of that ego voice, one of the things that it says so loudly and so persistently, especially to writers, is who do you think you are that, that you've got something to write, or
Totally.
that you're good enough, or that somebody would be interested in reading? Yeah, that ego voice is the part of us, and we all have it, whether we're writers or not. Everybody has it. It's
Yeah.
that part of us that believes that we're just not good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that we certainly shouldn't step out of, the bounds of what our life is supposed to be like to
Mm.
do something like write. So it's a really good question about how do we quiet that voice? How do
Mm.
we listen to the other voice instead? Because we all also have that other voice of spirit, as you
Mhm.
said, that voice that knows it's connected to something higher and deeper, to, that spiritual, or whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
essence of who we are,
Mhm.
and to a vast spiritual resource beyond us as well.
Mhm.
So for me personally, one of the first things I do whenever I hear that ego voice coming up is
Mhm.
that I use this little prayer, and this is actually the prayer in my book, The Only Little Prayer You Need. It's very simple. It's just, please heal my fear-based thoughts
Ah.
about whatever I'm thinking about at the time that are getting in my way. So for instance, if I'm hearing that voice that says, that ego voice saying, why do you think this is a good idea? Why do you think anybody's going to read this? I can say to spirit, I can say, please heal those fear-based thoughts,
Mm.
because that's all they are. They're just my inner fear. Please
Wow.
heal those fear-based thoughts so that I can return to the joy of writing, to the joy of creativity, to this voice within me that's speaking so, and saying that I have something that needs and wants to be shared, that I
Yeah.
have a message. So it's
Yeah.
just asking, so often we try to quiet that ego voice on our own, but it's so persistent and it's so
Mm.
loud and tenacious, it's just going to come right back.
Mm.
So to me, it's really helpful to ask for spiritual help in quieting that voice, getting back to that place of peace so that we can let the true message of spirit shine through
Mhm.
us.
Absolutely. And I'm a firm believer that, well, I call myself a knower, right? Like if Wayne Dyer used to say, he had this great thing where he said, if I asked you if you could ride a bike, what would you say? do you know you can ride a bike, or do you believe you can ride a bike? And you know, I said, I know we can ride a bike. He says, that's the level of knowing that you need to get to, that your spirit and soul is communicating with you. Not, I think I kind of hear it. We get to this place where once we take one little step in following it, I think we can get to the place of knowing it. Now,
Yes.
the only thing that works for me is like what you said, is to just quiet the mind. I was having a major, not a huge panic attack, but I was in it. I'm leaving for my first vacation in a few years, going to Europe for the first time on Thursday. And I've got all this stuff. And all of a sudden that voice just was like, and, you know, 1,000 things was going on in my head. And I thought, good Lord, I'm going to fall over. So I took a moment and I just quieted the mind and I prayed. And I just said, show me where to go, show me what to do, show me what to say and to whom. And could you please help me see this differently? And it's funny because I don't think I've ever said that before. So it's weird that we're having this interview. I don't know if I've ever said, could you please help me see this differently? Which is similar to help me heal these fear-based thoughts. And kind of like almost instantaneously, I sort of forgot, right? Like got up from my meditation, my dog was there, poof. And then all of a sudden life was different. Like all of a sudden the perspective changed. And I feel like the inner voice allows you to have a quick perspective shift. Do you feel that?
Completely. Yeah, what you just described, I've heard so many people have reported that same thing and using this prayer.
Wow.
And, you know, it doesn't have to be that particular wording of this prayer. It could be, please help me see things differently. It's anytime that we ask a spiritual power to help us have a different perspective, to shift from that ego mind to our higher mind. It does happen instantaneously, and we can be very aware of it when we're mindful enough to pay attention and to tune in. And it's, you know, at first it can be kind of surprising. Yeah. Sometimes people have told me that the very first time they've used the prayer, it's as though they feel this whoosh of fresh air coming through their mind, like a door was just opened and a breeze came through. Because you think about it, all of those old fear-based thoughts, those old perspectives and patterns of thinking, those messages of I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, I'll never do anything successful, all of that stuff that we all deal with, it's just like it's been sitting there, you know, like old stuff in the attic that just keeps gathering dust. And then when we use a prayer or meditation, you know, and we ask for that to be changed, for that to be healed, it really is like somebody opened the attic door and new air, fresh air is blowing through.
Oh,
yes, and we do get to have a whole new experience instantly. So what you're saying, I think, is so important about that meditation. You know, I think we don't realize how much energy we carry around with us every day, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, from all of the old baggage, all of these old ideas and beliefs. So we need to do something every single day. You know, if it's 5 minutes, great. If it's 15 or 20, that's even better. But something on a regular basis that helps us shift frequently every day. Because otherwise, you know, it's just like we're giving, exactly, to interrupt all of that old thinking, to give us that fresh perspective and to really build a new practice. It's funny because, you know, we'll go to the gym, we'll do all sorts of things for changing our, you know, our weight, how we eat, how we exercise, how we look, but we forget that we also need some kind of regular exercise for our mind to switch from what doesn't work for us to what does work for us. And that means every day. And the great thing about that is that the meditation could be in the form of journaling. It could be in the form of writing. So just by sitting down and writing every day, even if it's just free writing, you know, about something that's going on in your life, use that as a meditative personal practice and help it, you know, use it to help just get all of that old stuff moved out of the attic so that you've got fresh space to work in.
Definitely. Oh, I love this. So what kind of resistance do you see come up? I see resistance, everything from maybe this isn't my thing, or I think I'm getting bored, or I don't know if I have the time. Time is a big one. Or, you know, I don't know if this is what I should be writing. It's almost like resistance. It's like a, I always call it like a flea. You go to catch it and it turns into something else.
Yeah.
What are some of the ways you've helped people get beyond their resistance to just sitting down and writing?
Yeah, and all of those things that you just described or mentioned, those are all the ego voice too. You know, whether it's about time or it's about, is this the right idea, or anything that comes up in your mind that gets in your way or tries to distract you, that's the ego voice, because it will do everything it can think of to try to keep you from writing, because writing is your joy, writing is your growth. And as strange as it sounds, the ego wants to keep us from that. I had to laugh years ago when I realized I would even iron to keep myself from writing
Yeah,
sometimes. And ironing is like the last thing in the world I ever want to do. But sometimes my ego voice would say, yeah, why don't you go iron instead of writing? So, you know, I think the main thing is to, again, first of all, just be aware. Start to really pay attention. And I advise writers, spirituality students, whoever it is, to sit down, you know, maybe even for 2 minutes, 2 or 3 times in this coming week. Close your eyes, start to just pay attention to all of the thoughts and voices that go through your head, and really become aware of how many things are keeping you, how much resistance there really is showing up in your mind. And then the best thing to do is, as we've talked about, you know, use the prayer, ask for it to be healed, ask to see things in a new way, and then really just laugh about it. Have a good laugh. Know that, you know, doesn't have to be this way, because we can take all of this so seriously. And the best thing about writing or any kind of creative pursuit, anything that lights us up, is just to take it lightly, to say, oh, you know, I want to write. I know that it lights me up. So once you become aware of all of those distracting messages going through your mind that are keeping you from writing, then actively start shifting your perspective to all of the reasons that you want to write and that you love to write. So, and I even would advise everyone watching to make a list of all of the reasons that writing is such an exciting process and perspective, potential process for you. It can be anything from, you know, you just feel good when you're writing, or you love the idea of making up stories, or when you were little, you had such an imagination and you were writing and reading all the time, or, you know, that you want to be a published author and you want to change people's lives. Write down anything and everything that lights you up about writing. And then whenever you start to feel aware of that resistance, keep that list close, you know, have it near your computer, keep it in your pocket, in your purse, wherever. Pull it out and look at all of those reasons that you want to write whenever you feel the resistance, and that'll help immediately shift your perspective back to all of the excitement and the joy of writing.
That is such great advice, really. You know, we lose track of just the gift from God that we've been given. Well, you know what? I have a thing where, you know, we all have some kind of a creative tick. You know, some people, you know, they want to paint. Others want to build houses. Some people want to write. There's music, and you don't need to do just one. But when we really want to do something, we get told in society that, like, if we're not, you know, a surgeon or a lawyer, or like we're not a teacher, which I love teaching, but it's like if we're not doing something that has a very specific end goal result, that somehow it's a waste of time. And the strange part is, when I've worked with people, like I have worked with doctors and lawyers who were like, I think I'm not writing, like poetry. I mean, this is not like they want to write a book. They're like, I want to write this book or this novel or something. And they can't rationalize in their minds why. But what's funny is there's a whole bunch of things that's wrong in their life at first. I try to get to know them. And it could be their blood pressure is high. They're a little overweight. They're really angry at their spouses. You know, they're not sure if they made the right choice in their relationship. There's all these sort of things that they're worried about or focused on. Within 6 months of them, for these were writers, within 6 months of getting back to journaling, writing just 5 minutes a day, exploring the creative process. It's really interesting because I will hear, they won't make the connection, but I start to listen, as you know, very clearly. And they'll say things like, weird, my blood pressure went down. And you know what? It's crazy. My wife or husband, I just can't believe how amazing they are. I've just had this wonderful relationship. And I asked them, I said, you know, what really changed? Like, what's going on? You're not running, you're not exercising more, and your spouse hasn't done anything different. And they go, oh, it's because I'm feeling better. And I'm feeling better because I'm following a calling to write. Can you speak to that? In that what we always forget, it affects everything.
Mm-hmm. It does. And oh my gosh, I think that's the way that you just described it is so perfect. I think so often what happens is that we do live out our lives according to someone else's script, someone else's plan or expectations. We don't even know how much we are dismissing our own deepest desires and passions so that we don't disappoint someone else, or that we kind of fit the mold or the blueprint that we think someone else has for us.
Yes.
And meanwhile, there is that heartfelt passion within us to write or to do whatever the creative endeavor is, whatever that looks like. It's, that voice that wakes us up in the middle of the night and says, but you know how much you want to write this book. And then if we keep dismissing that, and we keep pushing that down and denying it, that's it. Oh my gosh, I don't think we even know how much of an effect that has on us, a negative effect on us physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually in every single way. It would be, and I think the thing about it is that it is this chronic belief that we don't deserve to have all of the joy that we could have. We don't deserve to be as powerful. And as I use that word powerful, not powerful over people, but powerful in bringing our message to this world, in sharing our light, in being all of who we are. Anytime that we try to cut that back, not be who we are, we can feel it in our body.
Yes.
In fact, I was working with one writing client here recently who has done beautiful work on her book, and then she ran into a stumbling block, and she was asking herself, can I continue? Can I finish this? And I said to her, not only do I fully know that you can finish this, but I think that if you don't, you're going to feel as though somebody amputated your arm or your leg. This desire and this passion to write isn't just a small thing. It's not just, am I going to get avocados or tomatoes at the grocery store? This is, am I going to fulfill a life purpose?
Yes.
And if we don't do that, the longer we put it off, the longer we pretend that it doesn't matter or that we'll do it someday, the more we're just really denying ourselves some of the greatest joy and some of the greatest purpose that we could have here. And again, I think we can't overestimate how much of a negative impact that can have on us if we leave that going on for very long.
Yeah, it's almost like I've heard people say, women I've worked with in their 70s, they said it felt like that there was a piece of them just chipping away and almost like deteriorating, that they felt. And then as soon as they came, it didn't matter what age, really, it doesn't. I worked with a 78 and an 82-year-old woman, and they were like young again. It was unreal how they felt alive. You mentioned finishing what you start, and I really think that is a key ingredient. Whether it's a 40-page book, literally, I don't care how long it is, a book of poetry, maybe it's an essay, but to start and finish, there is, even though it's hard, right? There is such joy at the end of that tunnel. Can you tell us a little bit about why it really is important to finish, regardless of anything else?
Yes. Yeah, to have that feeling of fullness, of completion, that you've really done it. Oh my gosh, there's just nothing like that. And as you say, it's it's so easy to maybe get close to the end,
Yes.
but then just not take those final steps. You think of all of the thousands, if not millions of people around the world who have those unfinished manuscripts tucked away in their desk drawers or on their computers, where it really wouldn't take that much to get them finished, but there is that resistance. I think sometimes the greatest resistance comes at the end. So what I talk with my writing clients about is that the energy that it takes to start a book or to start a project is different from the energy that it takes to complete a project or a book. There's starting energy and there's completion energy. And first of all, you know, again, it just comes down to the awareness, because I think what often happens is that we work in a vacuum. A lot of times when we're writing, we think we're alone or we're the only ones. And so if you've been writing for a while, you've made good progress on a book, but then you're getting close to the end and you don't quite know how to finish it. You think, oh, there's something wrong with me, or there's something wrong with this book, or maybe I shouldn't finish it. And that's when you put it away. What I really want everyone to know is that, first of all, everybody feels that way. Everybody gets to that stage in the project where it's kind of like running a marathon. You get to about the 20th mile or the 22nd mile, and you think, I don't think I can go on. I don't think I can finish it. But that's when you go inside yourself again. You ask your muse, your spirit guides, God, your spiritual support. Please heal any fear-based thoughts that I have about finishing, so that I can tap into that completion energy within me, so that I can revisit the why I started this in the first place, and why it is so important to me and will feel so good when I'm done. And you let that energy carry you. It's really helpful too, I think, to actually see, you know, see in your mind, use the power of visualization to see the finished book, to feel yourself holding it in your hand, to see it on the bookstore shelves, or see someone reading it, underlining it, you know, getting all of the meaning out of it and feeling how good that feels, because that's the inner drive that will lead you to the completion and to really getting it done.
Oh, I couldn't have said it better. That was awesome. Really. You even had me doing the visualization right there. Well, I can't believe that all that time went by so fast. But this was such a pleasure. You have a free gift for us. Would you tell us about the free gift for the audience?
Absolutely. Speaking of visualizations, I use visualization a lot, guided visualizations, because I think they are incredibly powerful. We know that if we can envision something, and not just envision it, but feel it, if we can embody it, then it will absolutely manifest. We've already started that process of manifestation. So what I've done for the free gift is I've put together 3 guided visualizations. So you'll receive links to 3 different recordings. These are actually part of a course that I teach, an online course on spiritual nonfiction writing, but you're going to be getting these 3 visualizations for free. There's one on listening to your voice, your unique writing voice. There's one on getting in touch with a writing guide who can help you throughout the entire process. And then there's one that I just love about seeing yourself becoming part of a writing circle, you know, the sacred circle of writers, of people who have brought their messages forth into the world and really taking your place in that. So you will receive links to all 3 of those. They're yours to use as often, as many times as you want. And I really encourage people to keep coming back to them and keep using them, because every time you do, you can go even deeper into that creative process and get to know yourself even better.
Oh, it's fabulous. Thank you so much. Debra, it was such a pleasure to have you. And I know my audience is going to go crazy over you. You're very well fit for them. And I want everybody to reach out, get the free gift, remember Debra. And this is so great because we all experience that kind of resistance, and your very simple prayer is something that is so valuable in today's world, especially. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a joy.
Well, you have a great day.
Thank you, you too.
Okay. Thank you, Debra. Bye.
Okay. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.